I've always struggled with two things, and one is the consequence of us being compelled to go to Sunday school, and I should just step back and acknowledge that the church generally, the Black church more specifically, is both a site of incredible potential and power and tremendous pain for so many of us, especially those of us who identify as LGBTQIA+. You will hear me use same gender loving.
Yes.
I don't use gay because gay is often a white male political identifier.
I suppose you
The
were going
things
to
that
check
people
me today.
think about
Yeah.
when they think about gay, they don't think about all this fabulousness, right? They don't think about a Black man
So
who's
let me
college-educated.
pause you mid-point, because you got to help us, even for the preachers. The appropriate terminology is what?
So I appreciate the question, and appropriate is relative, which is a part of why I know this vexes people who have language fatigue.
Yes.
There are a lot of folks who I engage with who feel like, look, I love you, you can do whatever you want to do, but it's too many terms. My brain can't wrap itself around the they, them, there.
Yeah.
And so I want to acknowledge that I'm complicating that by saying I got something else for you to train your tongue to pronounce.
Yes.
And so same gender loving is a term created by a Black man.
Okay.
To acknowledge that what it means for us as descendants of Africa, who are the progenitors of everything, the creators of cool, but who have had to be forced to endure what Black feminists refer to as the matrix of domination, the signs, systems, and symbols that allow white patriarchy and privilege to be upheld and omnipresent yet hyper invisible at the same time. Those things exist in language. And so Black folks have always struggled to find love, to have the ability to love ourselves, to have the ability to love each other, especially when we think about transatlantic and Pacific enslavement. And so same gender loving is a way for me as a queer Black man to say to everybody, I am proud of the journey of the complications, the joy associated with finding love. And for most Black people, we have to go through something in order to get to the point where we can love ourselves and find somebody else to love on us too. That's one part of it. The other part of it for me is we will recite scriptures. And what I know is that I was formed in my mother's womb by Jesus before I ever took my first breath.
Mm-hmm.
And it used to vex me when I acknowledged my superpower in terms of being queer. I should stop for a second and back up. And the ontological origins of the word queer means that which is not in a position of power. So us as Black folks in this country, we are queer. People with disabilities in a country that is ableist are queer. People for whom English is not their first language or this country that their parents are not native to, we are all queer. However, people have made it a synonym for sexual minority status. If only logically, it doesn't work for me when people suggest that we are choosing an additional form of oppression, right? This is usually how it comes up in the church, which is, if that's a thought you have, ask God to pray it away.
Yes.
If that's a thought you have, suppress it and move beyond it. I would ask people until I was blue in the face in church on Sunday, on Tuesday, or Wednesday, why would God make me this way? Just why? And if you can't answer that question for me, why can't you just show up in love?
Wow.
All this matters for me because we know the consequence of what happens when our babies aren't loved. Asa Hilliard is a sociologist, a Black man. He says, I've never met a child in particular, a Black child who is not a genius. There's no secret to how we support them. We first acknowledge them as human, and we second support them with love. How many Black babies do you know who have never known love?
A lot.
Too many.
Yeah.
And the consequence of that, especially for kids who identify as LGBTQIA+ or same gender loving, or more often, it's the case that kids are not adhering to gender expectations. They're not wearing dresses because that's what girls are supposed to do. They're not playing with balls and trucks because that's what boys are supposed to do. Typically, we're talking about folks not performing gender in ways that we expect for them to. But what the data shows is that the suicide rate for Black kids 10 to 27 increased 144% between 2007 and 2020. This is before the most recent pandemic. Based on the limited data we're able to collect, we know that those rates are even higher for kids who identify as or who are assumed to be LGBTQIA+. We know that Black young people, when they ask for help, seldom get it, which is in part why they stop asking for help or stop ringing the alarm. And we know if we play this all the way out, that the consequence is usually that they engage in self-harm. The suicide rates, the depression rates, every quality of life indicator you can think of with regard to mental health and well-being, our babies are at the lowest rungs of those ladders. And often it's because they are rejected. They are not in community. It's all of the things that we know as African people matter to us.
Yeah.
We're not supposed to be figuring this out by ourselves, which is why we do this in a congregation. We figure this out in a community. We do it in relation with people who can love us and love the most important parts of who we are.